and in this session we will be discussing characterization of intervals. This section is about intervals in real line. So here we are studying characterization of intervals. So let's define intervals. Now I am defining what are the bounded intervals in real line. Suppose a and b are real numbers and a less than b. Then open interval AB determined by AB is defined as set of all x element of R such that A less than x less than B. So here you have A and here you have B. Open interval AB means all real numbers between A and B. A and B are not included, but all real numbers between A and B. Now closed interval AB determined by AB is defined as set of all x element of R such that A less than or equal to x less than or equal to B. Here we are including A and B in this set. So you can write closed interval AB as open interval AB union set AB. If you adjoin A and B with open interval AB, you will get closed interval AB. Now we can define half open or half closed intervals determined by A and B. Closed A open B is equal to set of all x element of R such that A less than or equal to x less than B means open interval AB union A. We are adjoining A with open interval AB. Then open A closed B is set of all x element of R such that A less than x less than or equal to B. So this is open interval AB union singleton set B. These are the four types of bounded intervals on a real line. Now let's check what are the unbounded intervals. So I am taking A and B are as real numbers. I am defining open interval A infinity as set of all x element of R such that A less than x. So here is the real line. We have an A here. Open interval AB means set of all x greater than A. Open interval A infinity means set of all x greater than A. Here A is not included. Then closed A infinity. So we are adjoining A with open A infinity. So this is open A infinity union singleton A. Now minus infinity B. How can we define minus infinity B? Here you have B. Minus infinity B means all elements to the left of B. So set of all x element of R such that x is less than B. So B is not an element here. Now minus infinity closed B, set of all x element of R such that x less than or equal to B. These are then one more interval is there, minus infinity infinity, which is the entire real line. These are the five types of unbounded intervals in R. Now the characterization theorem for intervals. Characterization means a unique property. Characterization of interval means intervals an interval has some property and only intervals has this property. Such a property is known as characterization. Okay, so intervals has some property, say P, and only intervals has this property. Then we call it a characterization of interval. So here is a characterization for intervals. Suppose S is a subset of R such that it contains at least 2 points and has the property if x and y is in S and x less than y, then closed interval xy is a subset of S. If S has this property, then we say that S is an interval. So every interval has the underlined property and only intervals has this property. Every interval has this property is understood. If we have an interval here, suppose this is an interval, you take an x and y from this interval, then closed interval xy will be contained in that interval itself. Now we have to prove that if S has the underlined property, then S is an interval. So we are saying that x and y is in S and x less than y, then closed interval xy is contained in S. If S has this property, then S is an interval. Okay. So let's prove this theorem. We are assuming that S has that property. S is a subset of R and at least 2 points are there. If x and y element of S and x less than y, then closed interval xy is a subset of S. What we have to prove is S is an interval. So we are considering 4 cases here. The first case is I am assuming that S is bounded, means S has an upper bound and a lower bound. In the second case I am taking S is bounded above but not below. In the third case I am taking S is bounded below but not above. And in case 4 I am taking S is neither bounded above nor bounded below. So let's consider the first case. S is bounded. S is bounded means S has an upper bound and a lower bound. Then by completeness property, since S has an upper bound, it will have a supremum. Similarly, if S has a lower bound, it will have an infimum. So S has an upper bound and lower bound means S has both infimum and supremum. I will call infimum of S as A and supremum of S as B. Now, if X is in S, here suppose this is A and this is B. S lies between A and B because A is a lower bound of S. Infimum means it is a lower bound and B is the supremum, means it is an upper bound. So you take any X from capital S, it will lie between A and B. Okay, so let X element of S, then A less than or equal to X less than or equal to B. If A less than or equal to X less than or equal to B, this means X is an element of closed interval AB. X is an element of closed interval AB. Okay, so you take any X from S that is in closed interval AB means S is a subset of closed interval AB. We need this result. Now I am taking Z as an element of open interval AB. Z is in open interval AB means A less than Z less than B. Okay. Now I am considering this part. A less than Z or Z is greater than A. Who is A? A is the greatest lower bound of S. A is the greatest lower bound of S. And here Z is greater than A. So Z is not a lower bound of S. Any lower bound of S will lie to the left of A. You take any lower bound of S, it will be less than A. Here Z is greater than A means Z is not a lower bound of S. If something is not a lower bound, then S contains some element here which is less than Z. So Z is not a lower bound of S implies there exists some X in S such that X less than Z. Now I am taking the next part. Z is less than B. So this is B. B is the supremum of S, means this is the least upper bound. Anything less than this is not an upper bound. So here I have taken Z less than B. So Z is not an upper bound of S, means S contains somebody here, I will call this y, and this y is greater than z. So there exists y element of S such that z less than y. So here I have x less than z, here I have z less than y, and both x and y belongs to S. X, y both are in S, and x less than z and z less than y. So we have x less than y. Okay. Now by your assumption, I will do one thing, it's not visible here. By our assumption, if x and y is in S and x less than y, then closed interval xy is a subset of S. Okay, so here also closed interval xy is a subset of S, and z is between x and y. Z is between x and y. So z is in closed interval xy. This z is in closed interval xy, and closed interval xy is a subset of S, means z is in S. Okay, we have taken z element of open interval AB. Now we got z is in S. So you take any element of open interval AB, it is in S. What does it mean? Open interval AB is a subset of S. We need this thing also. So now we have S is a subset of closed interval AB, and open interval AB is a subset of S. Then what is S? This is closed interval AB. S lies between A and B, but every element in open interval AB is in S. Then S can be closed interval AB, it can be open interval AB, it can be open A closed B, or closed A open B. We have only these 4 chances, and all these are intervals, and we had to prove that S is an interval. Now we got S is either open interval AB or closed interval AB or half closed AB, and all these are intervals, so that S is an interval. So case 1 is over. Now let's take case 2. Here we have taken S is bounded above, not below. So S has no lower bound, but it has an upper bound. Okay. If there is an upper bound, it will have a supremum. So S has a supremum. I will call that supremum as B, and S has no lower bound. Now if you take Z element of S, here B is supremum. Supremum means it is an upper bound. So S lies to the left of B. So B is an upper bound. You take any Z element of S, Z will be less than or equal to B. If Z is less than or equal to B, it is in interval minus infinity closed B. Okay, so you take any Z element of S, it is in interval minus infinity closed B, and it means that S is a subset of minus infinity closed B. We need this. Now I am taking Z as an element of open interval minus infinity B. If Z is in open interval minus infinity B, then Z is strictly less than B. Okay, who is B? B is the supremum of S, and Z is less than B. Supremum means least upper bound. Here Z is less than B. So is Z an upper bound? No, because B is the least such upper bound. So since Z is less than B, Z is not an upper bound of S. Means there is somebody here greater than Z in S. So there I will call this as Y. So there exists some Y in S such that Z less than Y. Okay. Now we have assumed that in case 2 we have taken S has no lower bound. S has no lower bound. So Z is not a lower bound of S. If Z is not a lower bound of S, S contains some element, say X, which is less than Z. So here we have some X, and this X and Y is in S, and we have X less than Z less than Y, implies X less than Y. Okay. Again, by our assumption, if X and Y is in S and X less than Y, then closed interval XY is a subset of S. So here also closed interval XY is a subset of S, and Z is between X and Y. So Z is in closed interval XY, therefore Z will be in S also. So we have started from minus infinity B. Z is an element of minus infinity B, and we have ended up with Z is an element of S. Means open interval minus infinity B is a subset of S. So we have S is contained in minus infinity closed B, and minus infinity open B is contained in S. So S lies to the left of B, and anything strictly less than B is in S. So here S has again two chances. Either S is equal to minus infinity B, or it is minus infinity closed B. Both these are intervals. So case 2 is over. Now how can you prove case 3 and 4? I will give you some idea, but you should write the proof yourself. In case 4, we have taken S is bounded below, not above. Bounded below means it has an infimum. Call it A. It is not bounded above, so no upper bound. Infimum means it is a lower bound. If you take an element of capital S, that S will be greater than or equal to A. Okay, implies this S is in A infinity, closed A infinity. So you can prove S as a subset of closed A infinity. Now take Z in open A infinity. So here you have A, here you have Z. A is the greatest lower bound, so Z is not a lower bound. So you will get something. And here capital S has no upper bound, so Z is not an upper bound. So you will get something. Okay, use that to show that open interval A infinity is contained in S. So S is contained in closed A infinity and open A infinity is contained in S. Okay, then what is S? Is it an interval? This is case 3. Now in case 4, we have no upper bound, no lower bound. S is not bounded above, S is not bounded below. Anyway, S is a subset of R. So we have S is a subset of R. R means open interval minus infinity, infinity. Now you take z in R. Here S has no upper bound, so z is not an upper bound of S. Similarly, S has no lower bound, so z is not a lower bound of S. So you will get an x less than z and you will get a y greater than z. Use that to conclude R is a subset of S. Here you have S subset of R and here we have R subset of S. So S is equal to R, which is interval minus infinity, infinity. Again, it's an interval. Okay, so try to write down the proof properly. Let's study more about intervals in our next session. So till then, take care.